Our next item, a public hearing about porch sign at Bay Street.
I don't have one in my pocket. What's that on? Sorry, never mind. We don't have to worry about that. Never mind, I have it. It's just so small.
Good evening, Commissioners. So this is an application for a sign reading "The Porch" at Bay Street. Oh, somehow I skipped a lot. No, I'm not really sure what happened there. Try again. Okay. This sign would be located over the main kind of no-car pedestrian mall area in between Old Navy and AMC Theater, to kind of orient you. The sign faces to the west over this square, if you will. And here's a better view of the plans. It runs the length of between these two pylons. This is a elevation view of it. The letters themselves will be 6 feet high and 55 feet 8 inches long, which makes 334 square feet. The details of the sign are that the acrylic or main surface of the sign will be white with a black vinyl over it. This means that during the day the letters appear black and at night they appear white. So it's kind of like the ads that you see on buses where the people can see out, but you can't really, you see the image until something's shining through. It will be lit with white LEDs, interior lighting. A dimmer is shown on the plans already. And there is a note also on the plans that reads that the illumination will not exceed the 0.3 foot candles above the ambient lighting, as we've recognized from the ISA recommendation. These are two renderings from Shellmound Street showing the sign. As you can see, it's set back a bit from the street. You might glance and see it. And then again at night with the white letters. You can see the palm tree is a little bit in the way. And then just to kind of put it in perspective, this is from the freeway. It's actually much harder to see here. It's sitting in the back there. So it's likely that most people viewing the sign will be on Shellmound or within the Bay Street Mall complex. The sign does meet the citywide design guidelines of architectural compatibility, consistency with area character, legibility and readability, and visibility, other than that small palm tree frond that's in the way. So this is not part of the master sign program for Bay Street, therefore it requires a separate permit. A roof sign always requires a major sign permit, which is why we're here today. The findings required to approve this are that it's compatible with the neighborhood, readable, and integrated with the architectural features. Staff feels that these findings can be made given that this condition of approval has been added to the conditions before you. And I'll let you read this lower paragraph of text. So in summary, we have the standards that you've heard about before from the art.com concern. So those same conditions, that same standard is applied. It's in the plans, it's in the conditions of approval, and then in addition, should we receive complaints, we can request that the sign be dimmed in order to satisfy that complaint. So with that, staff recommends approval of the sign permit with this additional condition.
Ollie, have there been any concerns from any of the condo owners about this sign?
I have not received any responses about this permit, and I made sure that it went to every single person living in Bay Street.
Are there any lines of sight that will be impacted by this?
There are, and that was why we were so careful with the language. So looking here, this main cube is all retail, and then above Ohlone Way here, this is the beginning of residential. I believe that the apartments are next to the railroad tracks, and the condos are between Bay Street and Shellmound. So since the sign is along this line, it's very unlikely the apartments can see it at all if if maybe a sliver, whereas there's probably a very oblique angle from the condos.
But there are other lights on at the same time. So when
Bay
you
Street
showed
is
us...
a heavily signed area.
So that it's misleading, when you showed us that nighttime view, all we saw was Porch.
Yes, it's
It won't be
actually
like that.
more likely that the other signs are lit. So for example,
Right.
these pictures are actually the same. So here's, Elephant Bar, that probably would be red sitting here as well. And in a number of the other signs, this I think is lit up as well, the park sign, so.
What's the time constraint?
AMC sign.
Yes, there's a number of signs.
The time constraint, when do they have to be shut off?
I don't believe that we included hours in the conditions. Let me just double check.
The existing master sign program does not require that they be turned off at any particular time, I don't believe. And to my knowledge, we've never had any complaints about any of the signs at Bay Street.
There was a complaint about the sign actually operated by Bay Street that said, I don't remember what it said. It was sitting at the corner of the apartments, the southeast or southwest corner of the apartment area, so at Ohlone and Bay, that intersection. And some residents complained about that, and the Bay Street operators dimmed it eventually.
I see.
That was the leasing office
Yes,
sign, wasn't it?
yes, I believe it was.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
Why is this application being processed as a major sign permit rather than an amendment to the Bay Street master sign program?
It's legal, I believe, to do it either way. So it's really at the applicant's discretion to choose one way or the other. That's my understanding, that once a master sign program exists, you are allowed to apply for a sign outside of that without modifying.
I should also note that a master sign program is really intended for a complex where the signs are likely to change frequently, or not frequently, but occasionally. So, for example, all the various storefronts at Bay Street, the tenants come and the tenants go. Hopefully they stay for a while, but there's a lot of turnover. And every time somebody, opens a new store, they have a new sign. But if it's covered by the master sign program, then we can approve it at a staff level. This is more of a permanent sign of the facility that's not likely to change in the future, so it doesn't really need to be part of a master sign program.
And excuse me if I didn't make this clear, the porch is meant to refer to the second floor food court that's there, and is meant to unite it. And my understanding is that in the future they plan to come probably for a minor design review application for some glass screens and some better lighting to make it more of a comfortable outdoor eating experience.
So this sign it's mounted to, the structure that it's mounted to is a flat roof?
It's a peaked roof, and it peaks kind of vertically in this picture, so it's at the base of that, actually.
Isn't there a section?
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah, and there is actually a section in your plans. So this is the kind of gutter line of the peaked roof with it rising behind it.
Okay, so that peaked roof hits it basically... So this thing the sign's mounted on doesn't project towards us in this elevation. That's what I was not understanding.
No, there's not a
Does
separate
it?
additional awning.
Okay.
Yes.
That is already there.
Yes.
That beam is already there.
Right, no, I understand that. I'm just
Oh, okay.
trying to understand. I couldn't...
apologies, sir.
I didn't like the drawings. I couldn't really understand what was going on.
The way it looks in the drawings, without going down there and actually seeing it, it almost looks like this is at the level where the patio is, where people walk, and it looks like the guardrail, but it's actually above the entire
Yes.
food court.
Yes, excuse me
Roof.
for not having a better... Yes, so if you're looking at your plans, this little piece here next to the full drawing, this shows that this is the roof, and this kind of tan, that's the roof extending back away from the porch, and this is, the pylon, for lack of a better word, post holding up the roof above that second floor eating area. So I think maybe looking at actually the shell mound rendering might clarify. Oh, yes.
The
excuse me.
photo overlay.
It doesn't quite make sense. This goes through the roof.
Yeah.
So,
clear.
Okay. There, that helps. So we have the stores on the first floor, the eating area on the second floor, and then the roof much above.
On sheet 2, it appears that the letters are going through the roof in this section. Go further to the right.
Oh,
Over here.
Yeah, that kind of doesn't quite make sense.
No, that's it's a cut line.
One's in the foreground, one's in the background.
So in that same picture, the sort of cream-colored roof, the top of it, yes. Do we know if this is to scale, so that the letters do indeed project
It
above?
does have a scale on the drawing, so
Okay.
I would assume, I mean, obviously this is a straight-on elevation, and that doesn't always
And we'll be
feel
looking at it from
right.
below.
So it's possible that the roof itself would not be nearly as visible from below, and that's where it will be seen from.
So I've been going back and forth from, well, that's not a question for Arlie.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Arlie. Is there anyone from Bay Street or the Arrow Sign Company wishing to speak?
Yes, I'm here to answer questions. I'm Richard Lucchini. I'm
Say-
Richard
say again?
Lucchini with Arrow Sign Company.
Hello.
I can answer any questions that the board may have.
Who is this sign directed to? I've been driving back and forth along the freeway and Shell Mound, and you're not going to see it from, unless you're stopped in a traffic jam for a long time going northbound. You can't see it at all going southbound because the freeway mid-section rises up.
It's of
And-
minor visibility, very minor visibility from the freeway, and the sign, the architects who designed the sign for the complex is not, probably the first consideration was not to attract new visitors to the center, but to begin the overall imaging of the center that they are going to be continuing to carry through for that food court. So it's an identity. And
So it's intended mainly to be visible from within Bay Street, from within the complex?
yes, it's highly visible within the complex.
It's huge.
So I'm also kind of trying to understand what exactly is being advertised with this sign. So it's my understanding that kind of mezzanine level with the restaurants will be called the Porch. I'm kind of wondering if they're, I mean, this is only sort of tangentially related, but I'm wondering if there are plans to kind of market that in other ways. I mean, is there going to be is that going to be kind of included on other signage in the center, the porch theme, or?
I don't have, yeah, well, I'll let,
Hi, Cedric Young, Madison-Marquett, Bay Street. Commissioners, good evening. We're trying to create a sense of place with the food court at the terrace level. We're trying to bring in some new tenants. We've got to resize some of our food uses, but we really want to just create a place. It's part of a brand. And to answer Commissioner Donaldson's question, it's really an internal sign, but it's mainly just create a place and to call it the Porch. Like, this is where we're going to go. Where do you want to meet? We're going to meet at the Porch. And so it's not a branding throughout the site, but it's a part of a component of Bay Street. And we look at this as kind of a start of an effort as we bring in new tenants and try to get new, fresher food uses in place. We have a lot of rollover coming up, so we want to, and it's part, many of these tenants now want, well, where are we going to go? I mean, do you have a place set up? If you look at a lot of major centers, they have, the food court becomes a place, a stopping point. We're just trying to create that with the naming of the Porch, or whatever we might end up calling it. But right now, we're calling it the Porch. But that's, and to do that, it kind of just, you've got a shed roof, and it just creates, like in Napa, I think it's called the Marketplace, the Oxbow. They have the similar type sign, and that creates, it's just a feeling of more of a marketplace. So that's the purpose of the Porch and Porch sign. So it's not really to be seen from the freeway, but if you see it, it's good too. But it's mainly just to help create a place within Bay Street.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
So you said that the name of the sign might change, so how does that impact this application for
Well,
the
I think
permit?
it is, I think for the most part
Like
it
if you
is.
call it the patio, for instance, or if you
Yes.
call it something with more letters than the six
No, well, we're
that are
going
there.
to, I mean, we've got square footage requirements that we have to stay within. But I think right now, we plan to call it the Porch. I mean, we were kind of going through different iterations of this, and this is kind of where we've ended up.
Do you know offhand the height of the Barnes & Noble and Elephant Bar and the movie theater signs in comparison to
You
this?
mean the lettering?
Yeah. Is this larger than that, than those?
I think it's comparable perhaps to the AMC.
So I went down there on the weekend, and the AMC sign is like 2 or 3 times the size of that, what it looks to be. That sign, that AMC sign is huge.
The one on the freeway is that big, that's
The one that's facing, the one that is on the...
North?
It's facing north, yes.
Okay,
It's huge.
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing, and I don't believe we have anybody left. But I will open it and then close it. So, yeah, deliberations. All right.
I'd move approval.
Second.
I have to say that I think it's large, tall, but there are other signs already there that are larger, so I'm intrigued by having it black at night and then light or black during the day and light at night, so I think that's kind of a good...
Sometimes
Mix.
big is good, too. You know, if you look at Pike's Market, it's historical, the identity. And so I think it's a nice design.
Yeah. I guess we can take the roll then. I mean, yeah.
I just,
Okay,
I
if
think
you're
that
ready.
I think that the center is oversigned already. I think when I go by there, I find it just too cluttered and too much lights and too much distraction, and I would like to see this application and how it looks with the other stuff around it, because it's not just going to be a little sign in the black there. It's got all this other stuff going on as well. It's just,
It won't look like that.
no, it's not going to look like that. So I would like to see what it's going to look like before because I really, there are a lot of signs at that center already.
Well, they kind of get lost with each other, too.
Yeah, so if they're conflicting and getting lost, I don't know how much placemaking that accomplishes.
Yeah, I'll also just say that I was a little bit disappointed in the drawings. They didn't reflect the others. At least the night drawing didn't reflect the other signage that was there. There wasn't an elevation. There was an elevation of the sign, but not an elevation of the sign on the building. So I found it. I regrettably did not have time to visit the site this time, and I just found that I could not tell what was going on from the drawings.
Okay. Well, that being said,
Are you ready
it's
to
time
vote?
for our vote, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Donaldson?
No.
Commissioner Moss?
Abstain.
Commissioner Sherman?
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Tan?
No.
Vice Chair Cardoza?
Yes?
Chair Coomerly?
Yes.
We have 4 ayes, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. The application is approved. This decision may be appealed to the City Council within 15 days.